you've been doing it wrong. Talking, explaining, justifying yourself to people who don't deserve your words. You think if you argue hard enough, loud enough, they'll finally respect you. They won't, because respect isn't won through noise, it's commanded through silence, and you've been giving away your power every time you open your mouth. Here's what nobody tells you. The people who truly intimidate others never raise their voice. They don't need to. Their presence does the work. One look, one calculated pause, one moment of absolute stillness, and the room shifts. You can feel it. That primal discomfort when someone refuses to react, refuses to explain, refuses to play by the usual social rules. That's not cruelty, that's mastery. Most people are terrified of silence, so they fill every gap with words, explanations, justifications. They fidget, they break eye contact, they telegraph every emotion across their face like a neon sign. And in doing so, they hand over control to anyone watching. You've probably done this yourself without realizing it, and it's exactly why people don't fear you. They read you, predict you, and dismiss you. But what if you could flip that script entirely? What if you became the one person in the room no one could read, predict, or control? What if your silence became more threatening than anyone else's words? That's what you're about to learn. If you're ready to stop explaining yourself and start commanding respect, type untouchable in the comments right now. Claim it. Let's start with something most people misunderstand. Fear isn't rational. It doesn't care about your resume, your arguments, or how loudly you demand respect. Fear lives in the ancient part of the brain, the part that kept our ancestors alive when a predator stepped into the clearing. And here's the thing, that part of the brain doesn't respond to words. It responds to signals. A predator doesn't announce itself. It doesn't explain why it's dangerous. It simply is dangerous, and every fiber of your instincts knows it. The same principle applies to human dominance. When you try to convince someone you're powerful, you've already lost. Power that needs to be explained isn't power. It's insecurity dressed up in volume. True dominance is felt, not heard. It's in the way you hold yourself, the way you lock eyes with someone and refuse to blink first, the way you let silence stretch until the other person scrambles to fill it. These aren't tricks. They're the language of the primitive brain, and when you speak it fluently, people respond on a level they don't even understand. Think about the people you instinctively respect or fear, not because they told you to, because something about their presence made you feel it. Maybe it was a teacher who could silence a classroom with a single look, a boss who never raised their voice but somehow made you desperate to avoid disappointing them, or someone you met once who said almost nothing, yet you remember them years later because they unsettled you in a way you couldn't name. That's not an accident. That's the deliberate cultivation of silent dominance. And it's available to you too, once you understand the mechanics. Here's the framework. Dominance is built on 4 foundational pillars. Eye contact that penetrates instead of glances away. Silence that creates pressure instead of awkwardness. Stillness that signals control instead of nervous energy. And unpredictability that keeps others off balance, unable to read or manipulate you. Each pillar reinforces the others. Together, they form an armor that makes you untouchable. And the best part, none of it requires you to say a word. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. You simply become the kind of person others instinctively fear. Let's break down exactly how to build that presence, starting with the most powerful tool you already have. Pillar 1. The deadly power of eye contact. Your eyes are a weapon. Most people don't know how to use them. They glance. They dart away. They look down when someone challenges them, or they stare at the floor during uncomfortable conversations. Every time you break eye contact first, you're sending a message. I submit. And once someone sees that submission, they'll never take you seriously. But when you hold eye contact, really hold it, past the point of comfort, something shifts. The other person feels it in their chest. A tightness, an urge to look away. That's not random. That's their brain recognizing a dominance signal, and their body responding with the same discomfort a prey animal feels when locked in a predator's gaze. Here's what makes eye contact so devastatingly effective. It's intimate. Holding someone's gaze creates a connection they can't escape without breaking first. And whoever breaks first loses. It's that simple. You don't have to say a word. You just have to be willing to outlast them. Most people can't do this. They've been conditioned to believe that prolonged eye contact is rude or aggressive, so they automatically look away to be polite. That politeness is costing you power, because while you're being nice, someone else is reading your discomfort and cataloguing you as weak. So how do you wield this weapon without looking unhinged? First, practice the 3-second rule. When you meet someone's eyes, don't look away immediately. Hold for 3 full seconds before breaking. This alone will put you ahead of 90% of people who break within 1 second. 3 seconds signals confidence. Anything less signals submission. Second, when someone challenges you, verbally or otherwise, lock eyes and do not blink first. Let the silence stretch. Let them squirm. Most people will start talking just to escape the tension, and when they do, they've already lost the interaction. You didn't have to argue. You didn't have to justify yourself. You just had to refuse to look away. Third, understand the difference between staring and engaging. Staring is empty. It's aggressive without purpose. Engaging eye contact has intent behind it. You're not trying to make someone uncomfortable for fun. You're asserting dominance in a specific context, a negotiation, a confrontation, a moment where respect is on the line. Context matters. And here's the part nobody talks about. Eye contact works because it forces people to see you seeing them. They can't hide. They can't pretend you're not there. You become impossible to ignore, and that presence, that refusal to disappear, makes you dangerous. Practice this in low-stakes situations first. Hold the gaze of a cashier for an extra beat. Don't look away when a stranger makes eye contact on the street. Notice how uncomfortable you feel at first, and then notice how uncomfortable they become. That discomfort is the price of dominance. Get comfortable with it. Because once you master eye contact, you'll never have to raise your voice again. One look will say everything your words never could. Pillar 2. Strategic silence as a weapon. Silence terrifies people, and that terror is your advantage. Most people treat silence like a void that needs to be filled. A conversation lags for 2 seconds, and they panic, scrambling for something, anything, to say. They overshare, they ramble, they fill the gap with nervous laughter or pointless comments, and in doing so, they hand you all the power in the room. Because here's the truth, whoever speaks first loses. Silence creates a vacuum, and humans are hardwired to fill vacuums. When you refuse to speak, the pressure builds. The other person starts second-guessing themselves. They wonder what you're thinking. They wonder if they said something wrong. They wonder if you're judging them. And eventually they crack. They offer information you didn't ask for. They apologize for things that don't need apologies. They give you leverage without you saying a single word. This is how interrogators break suspects. This is how negotiators win deals, and this is how you dominate any interaction where someone expects you to react. Let's say someone insults you. Your instinct is to defend yourself, to argue back, to prove them wrong. But what if you did nothing? What if you just looked at them, let the silence hang, and watched them scramble to justify what they just said? Suddenly, they're the one explaining. They're the one uncomfortable. You didn't have to fight back. You just refused to engage, and that refusal flipped the entire dynamic. Or imagine you're in a negotiation. The other side makes an offer. Instead of responding immediately, you pause, 5 seconds, 10. You let them sit with their own words. Watch what happens. They'll start talking again. They'll sweeten the deal. They'll give you more just to escape the discomfort of your silence. This works because silence is dominance in its purest form. It says, I don't need to justify myself to you. I don't need to fill this space. I'm perfectly comfortable letting you squirm. And that comfort, your ease in the face of their discomfort, marks you as someone who holds the power. But here's the nuance. Silence isn't the same as shutting down. If you go completely non-responsive, people will write you off as passive-aggressive or emotionally unavailable. The key is strategic silence. You choose when to speak and when to withhold. You let others talk themselves into corners, and then you respond with precision, 1 or 2 sentences that cut straight to the point. Think of it like this. Every word you say is a piece of information. The more you talk, the more you give away. But when you stay silent, you become a mystery. People can't read you. They can't predict you. And what they can't predict, they fear. So practice this. When someone asks you a loaded question, pause before answering. When someone tries to provoke you, let the silence stretch. Watch them unravel. Watch them fill the void with their own insecurities. And then, when you finally speak, make it count. Pillar 3. Stillness and controlled movement. Nervous energy is a confession. You see it everywhere. People fidget. They shift their weight. They tap their fingers, bounce their legs, play with their hair. They move constantly, unconsciously, and every twitch broadcasts the same message. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncertain. You can control me. Stillness, on the other hand, is power. When you move with purpose, slowly, deliberately, without unnecessary motion, you signal something primal. You're not reacting. You're not nervous. You're in complete control of yourself, and by extension, the situation. That control is magnetic. It draws attention, and more importantly, it intimidates. Think about apex predators. A lion doesn't pace. It doesn't fidget. It lies still, completely relaxed, until the moment it decides to move. And when it does move, every motion is intentional. That stillness isn't laziness. It's contained threat. It says, I don't need to waste energy proving anything. When I act, you'll know. You can cultivate that same energy. Start by eliminating unconscious movement. Notice when you fidget and stop. When you're standing, plant your feet and stay grounded. When you're sitting, don't shift around. Don't cross and uncross your legs. Don't tap your fingers. Just be still. This feels unnatural at first. You'll notice how much nervous energy you've been burning off through movement. But that discomfort is the point. Stillness forces you to sit with your own tension instead of externalizing it. And when you can hold that tension without releasing it, you become dangerous. Now, here's the flip side. When you do move, make it count. Walk with purpose. Don't shuffle. Don't rush. Move like you own every inch of space you occupy. Slow, deliberate movements signal confidence. Frantic, rushed movements signal anxiety. Watch people in positions of power. They don't hurry, they don't stumble. They walk into a room, pause, and survey it before sitting down. That pause, that moment of stillness before action, commands attention. It says, I'm not in a rush, I don't need to react to you. I act when I'm ready. You can apply this everywhere. In a confrontation, stand still and let the other person pace or gesture wildly. You'll look calm, they'll look unhinged. In a meeting, don't fidget with your pen or phone. Sit back, stay still, and watch how much more seriously people take your words when you finally speak. Stillness is the opposite of reactivity, and when you refuse to react, when you stay grounded while everyone else spirals, you become the center of gravity in any room. Master this, and you'll never have to chase respect. It will come to you. Pillar 4. Unpredictability and becoming unreadable. Predictability is a weakness, and you've been handing it to your enemies for free. Every time you react the same way to the same trigger, you give someone a map to control you. They know exactly which buttons to push, which words will make you angry, which tactics will make you fold. You become a formula, and formulas are easy to exploit. The solution: become unreadable. This doesn't mean being random or chaotic. It means controlling your emotional responses so thoroughly that no one can predict how you'll react. Sometimes you respond to an insult with a calm smile. Other times you respond with icy silence. Sometimes you engage. Other times you walk away without a word. The unpredictability keeps people off balance, unsure of how to approach you, and that uncertainty creates fear. Here's why this works. Humans are pattern recognition machines. We feel safe when we understand how someone operates, but when we can't predict someone, when their reactions don't follow the expected script, our brains flag them as a threat. We don't know what they'll do next, and that lack of control is deeply unsettling. Think about poker. The best players don't show their hand. They cultivate a poker face, an emotional mask that reveals nothing. You can't tell if they're bluffing or holding a royal flush. That unreadability is what gives them the edge. The same principle applies to life. So how do you become unreadable? First, master your facial expressions. Most people's faces are billboards advertising their emotions. When they're angry, you see it. When they're nervous, you see it. When they're hurt, you see it. That transparency is a liability. Practice keeping your face neutral, especially in moments when you'd normally react. Someone insults you? Blank face. Someone tries to provoke you? Blank face. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you flinch. Second, delay your reactions. When something happens that would normally trigger you, an accusation, a challenge, a provocation, don't respond immediately. Pause. Let the moment breathe. Then respond in a way they won't expect. Maybe you laugh, maybe you say nothing, maybe you change the subject entirely. The key is breaking the pattern they anticipated. Third, vary your emotional range. If you're always calm, people learn to expect calm. If you're always aggressive, people learn to expect aggression. But if you're unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, sometimes indifferent, people can never quite figure you out. And what they can't figure out, they can't manipulate. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategically opaque. You don't owe anyone access to your inner world. You don't owe them predictable reactions. By keeping people guessing, you maintain control over how they perceive and interact with you. Here's the ultimate test. If someone can finish your sentences or predict your responses, you've become too readable. Tighten your mask. Vary your approach. Become the person no one can quite pin down. Because the moment you're unreadable, you become untouchable, and the moment you're untouchable, you've won. Now you see it, the whole picture. Eye contact that refuses to break. Silence that creates unbearable pressure. Stillness that radiates control. Unpredictability that keeps everyone guessing. These aren't separate tricks. They're pillars of a single system, and when you integrate them, you become someone no one dares to challenge. Imagine walking into a room and feeling the shift. People notice you without you saying a word. They straighten up. They watch you. They feel the weight of your presence, and something in them knows, instinctively, wordlessly, that you're not someone to be trifled with. That's not arrogance. That's mastery. You're no longer the person scrambling for respect, trying to justify yourself, arguing with people who don't deserve your energy. You've become someone who commands respect simply by existing in the space. Your silence says more than their shouting. Your stillness unsettles them more than their chaos unsettles you. And your refusal to be read or predicted makes you dangerous in a way they can't quite name. This is what it means to be untouchable. Not because you're invincible, but because you've removed all the handles people use to control you. They can't provoke you into reacting. They can't predict your next move. They can't read your emotions or manipulate your responses. You've become a locked vault, and they don't have the key. And here's the beautiful part. Once you reach this level, you no longer have to fight for anything. Respect comes to you. People defer to you without knowing why. Enemies think twice before challenging you. Because deep down, in that primal part of their brain, they sense that you're someone they don't want to test. This isn't about being cruel or cold. It's about reclaiming your power from a world that's constantly trying to take it. Every time you hold eye contact, every time you let silence do the talking, every time you stay still while others spiral, you're asserting dominance over your own life. You're becoming the person who doesn't need to explain, justify, or demand. You're becoming the person who simply is, and that presence alone is enough. So take what you've learned here, practice it, integrate it, and watch how the world around you changes, not because you forced it to, but because you changed first. You're untouchable now, and they'll feel it without you saying a word. If you're done begging for respect and ready to command it through silence alone, leave a comment below. I am untouchable.